Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we deep dive into the Washington quarter dollar is one of the most recognizable coins in United States history. A small piece of silver and later copper-nickel alloy that has carried not just a monetary value but also an incredible historical and collectible journey that spans over 90 years. Beginning in 1932, when the U.S. Mint first introduced the coin to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington, the nation's first president, and little did anyone know that what started as a commemorative issue would grow into a permanent circulating coin series, one that would be produced continuously through major changes in design, composition, and value, and today stands as one of the most popular coins among collectors and everyday people alike. And if you have ever held a quarter in your hand, you have touched a piece of history that could, depending on its year, mint mark, and condition, be worth not just 25 cents but hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And that is exactly why in this detailed exploration we will uncover the full story of the Washington quarter dollar, looking at its origins, the artistry of John Flanagan, who designed the portrait of George Washington based on Jean-Antoine Houdon's famous sculpture, the early minting history, the key dates and rare issues, the transition from silver to clad coinage in 1965, the special bicentennial issues of 1976, the state quarters program that began in 1999 and reinvigorated coin collecting for a whole new generation, and finally the America the Beautiful quarters that carried the design until 2021, along with auction records, era varieties, and the surprising hidden value that makes the Washington quarter one of the most exciting coins to search for in circulation, because imagine this, a coin that you might receive as simple pocket change could in fact turn out to be a rare 1932D or 1932S quarter worth thousands of dollars, or a double die era variety with collectors clamoring to pay a premium, or even a pristine proof coin with mirror-like fields that was never meant to be spent at all. So let's take this long and fascinating journey through every aspect of the Washington quarter dollar, beginning with the story of its birth in 1932 when Congress authorized a coin to honor Washington's bicentennial, choosing to place his image on the quarter instead of issuing a commemorative half-dollar, a decision that would forever change the face of U.S. coinage, because up until then, liberty had always graced American coins, and the Washington quarter marked a shift toward featuring presidents, a tradition that would expand in later decades with the Jefferson nickel, Roosevelt dime, and Lincoln cent, and once the design was selected, production began at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, but only in small numbers for the Denver and San Francisco issues, leading to the creation of the two key dates of the series, the 1932D and 1932S Washington quarters, both struck in relatively low mintages of just over 400,000 coins each, and it is these two coins that remain at the top of collector wish lists, often selling for hundreds of dollars in circulated condition and well into the thousands in uncirculated grades. And from 1932 through 1964, the Washington quarter was made of 90% silver and 10% copper, giving it intrinsic precious metal value in addition to its face value. So every quarter from those years contains about 0.18 troy ounces of silver, meaning that even a common date Washington quarter from that silver era has bullion value tied to the price of silver, and that is why so many collectors and silver stackers seek out pre-1965 quarters, sometimes calling them junk silver, although in reality many of these coins are far from junk and can hold significant collectible value. And as we progress through the years, certain standout dates appear, such as the 1934 double die obverse, the 1943 S double die obverse, the 1950 D/S over mint mark, and the 1950 S/D over mint mark varieties, all of which command strong premiums, and collectors pay close attention to mint marks, which on Washington quarters appear on the reverse beneath the eagle until 1964, and then were moved to the obverse starting in 1968. And speaking of the reverse, John Flanagan design featured a bold heraldic eagle with outstretched wings perched on a bundle of arrows, with olive branches beneath, symbolizing both war and peace, and this design remained unchanged for decades until the bicentennial redesign in 1975-76 introduced Jack L. R's colonial drummer boy reverse, one of the most beloved and nostalgic designs in American coinage, with millions of collectors still searching for bicentennial quarters today, especially those struck in 40% silver proof and uncirculated sets. And some of these bicentennial silver quarters have sold for hundreds of dollars in top condition, while rare error varieties such as double strikes, off-center strikes, and transitional errors can bring even more. And in 1965, due to rising silver prices, the U.S. Mint eliminated silver from circulating quarters, switching to a clad composition of copper and nickel, which is still used today, and this transition created some fascinating collectible pieces like the rare 1965 silver Washington quarters, struck by accident on leftover 1964 silver planchets, and these transitional errors are highly sought after, often worth thousands, And throughout the clad era, proof coins and special mint sets continued to offer collectors high-quality strikes, with deep cameo contrasts commanding premiums. And then in 1999, the Washington Quarter entered a new phase of life with the launch of the 50-state quarters program, which became one of the most successful coin programs in U.S. history, reintroducing millions of people to coin collecting and sparking a frenzy to collect every design, with each state honored. In order of admission to the Union, and some of these state quarters, especially rare errors such as the 2004 Wisconsin Extra Leaf High and Low varieties, have skyrocketed in value, sometimes selling for hundreds of dollars, and after the state quarters concluded in 2008, the program extended into the District of Columbia and U.S. Territories quarters in 2009, followed by the Beautiful National Park quarters from 2010 to 2021, each with its own beautiful reverse designs, and in 2022. The quarter transitioned again with a new obverse portrait of Washington by Laura Garden Fraser, first intended in 1932 but not used until 90 years later, while the reverses celebrated American women in the American Women Quarters program. So truly, the Washington quarter dollar has evolved continuously while keeping Washington's profile as the central image, and when it comes to auction records, some Washington quarters have sold for staggering amounts, like a 1932 D in MS-66 condition, selling for over $140,000, or a 1932 S in superb condition fetching similar figures, and proof coins from the early 1930s and 1940s can also bring tens of thousands of dollars, and error coins, like double dies and transitional strikes, are in huge demand, meaning that any collector with a sharp eye could potentially discover a rare treasure in what looks like an ordinary coin. And so as we wrap up part 1 of this journey, it's clear that the Washington quarter dollar is much more than just pocket change. It is a reflection of American history, artistry, economics, and collecting passion, and whether you're looking for silver value, rare dates. The Washington quarter dollar, as we continue our in-depth journey, only grows more fascinating the deeper we look, because beyond its broad history lies a treasure chest of details, key dates, mint errors, collector varieties, and record-breaking sales that truly define why this coin is one of the most collected and most valuable pieces of U.S. coinage. And to appreciate part 2, we need to first revisit those early silver issues and the most coveted dates, beginning with the 1932 D and 1932 S quarters, both considered the crown jewels of the Washington Quarter series, with their low mintages of just $436,800 for Denver and $408,000 for San Francisco. And when found in higher grades, these coins have sold at auction for tens of thousands, with an MS-66 example of the 1932 D reaching well over $140,000. And this sets the stage for the collector's rule of thumb that early silver Washington quarters in top condition are always worth holding. And then there are the rare double die obverse varieties, like the famous 1934 double die where "In God We Trust" shows heavy doubling, and strong examples can fetch many thousands of dollars depending on grade. And moving into the 1940s and 1950s, we encounter the incredible over-mint mark varieties such as the 1950D over S and 1950S over D, which occurred when mint marks were punched incorrectly onto the dies. And collectors prize these mistakes because they offer a glimpse into minting history and also because they are scarce, making them valuable, often selling for several hundred to several thousand dollars depending on grade. And as we progress, silver Washington quarters from 1932 through 1964 form a highly collectible set, with certain issues like the 1943 S double die and the 1955 double die adding dramatic interest. While the end of the silver era in 1964 brought about one of the most important changes in U.S. coinage history, the shift to clad coinage beginning in 1965 due to the silver crisis, and it's here that one of the most valuable transitional errors was created, the 1965 silver quarter struck on leftover 1964 silver planchets, and these transitional era coins can bring over $7,000 to $10,000 at auction, and sometimes even more depending on grade, showing that even ordinary-looking coins can carry extraordinary hidden value. And the 1976 Bicentennial quarter adds another layer to the story, with its special colonial drummer reverse, which millions of Americans remember vividly from circulation. And while most are common, the 40% silver Bicentennial quarters produced for collector sets can bring premiums, and pristine examples graded MS or PR70 are always highly desirable. And then the state quarter program of 1999 to 2008 completely transformed coin collecting, engaging millions of new collectors, families, and kids, and making quarters the gateway into numismatics, with each state honored in unique reverse designs. And some of these quarters have incredible stories, like the 2004 Wisconsin Extra Leaf varieties, where a high leaf or low leaf appears on the corn stalk, and these coins can sell for hundreds or even thousands depending on condition. And other modern errors include double strikes, off-centers, and wrong planchet errors where a quarter is struck on a dime or nickel planchet, often selling for thousands. And the state quarters were followed by the DC and Territories program in 2009, and then the America the Beautiful National Park quarters from 2010 through 2021, producing yet another wide field for collectors. And some of these America the Beautiful quarters, such as the 2019 Lowell, San Antonio missions, or War in the Pacific quarters with a rare W mint mark from West Point, are already collectible and can bring strong premiums, especially in uncirculated grades. And this marked the first time since 1909 that a mint mark appeared for collector excitement, because the West Point quarters were released directly into circulation with no special packaging, and collectors scrambled to find them, turning pocket change into treasure hunts. And when we step back and think about it, the Washington quarter has been in continuous production since 1932, undergoing more transformations than almost any other U.S. coin, and that means the series offers something for every kind of collector, from silver stackers who hoard pre-1965 quarters for their silver content, to variety specialists who chase double dies, repunched mint marks, and transitional errors, to casual collectors filling state quarter albums, to serious investors who hunt for high-grade condition rarities that can set auction records. And speaking of records, let's highlight a few of the most jaw-dropping sales, like the aforementioned 1932D in MS66 that realized over $140,000, or a 1932S in similar top grades that crossed six figures, and even more recent coins like certain perfect proof state quarters in PR70 Deep Cameo that have sold for thousands, showing that condition and rarity always drive value, and error coins often become the stars of auctions, with double dies and off metals leading the way, while registry set collectors, who compete to assemble the finest possible graded sets of Washington quarters, fuel intense bidding wars for the highest graded survivors of every date. And when you consider that over 9 decades of continuous minting has created billions of Washington quarters, the fact that certain dates and conditions are so rare underscores why collectors treasure them so much. And what makes this series so attractive is the possibility that any quarter you hold in your hand could be a hidden gem, whether it's a silver coin worth its weight in bullion, a low mintage rarity worth thousands, or a modern error or W mint quarter worth far above face value. And in the end, the Washington quarter dollar is not just a coin. It is a canvas of American history, from Washington's stoic profile first sculpted in the 18th century, to modern reverse designs that celebrate states, territories, parks, and American women. And with each new issue the legacy continues, ensuring that collectors will never tire of the hunt. And that makes the Washington quarter one of the greatest success stories in U.S. numismatics, beloved by casual and serious collectors alike. And as we conclude this Part 2 deep dive, it becomes clear that the Washington quarter dollar is both a piece of everyday commerce and a treasure chest of opportunities for those who know what to look for. And whether you're sifting through pocket change, attending a major coin auction, or building a complete set, the Washington quarter offers excitement at every turn, and its story is still being written with each new design and discovery. So keep your eyes open, check your coins closely, and who knows, maybe the next quarter you find will be worth a fortune. Thanks for watching.